you're like, wait, so people are capable
Yeah.
of not actually stealing
It
it?
just needs to be a place where you get your hand chopped off if you do it.
Because-
No, I'm joking. That's not Dubai, don't worry. I mean, if you plan on going to Dubai and stealing phones off people, it's definitely the place where you get your hand chopped off. Fuck you.
Welcome to the Real and Raw podcast. I'm your host, Paul, with my co-host, Kyle.
How's it going?
And today, we'll be talking about why traveling matters for men's growth. And as always, we're going to start with the first question that Kyle's going to answer at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to ask it now. The first question is, what country have you been to? Or what holiday has made you grow the most out of all the ones you've been to? We don't need the answer now,
Okay.
but have a think about it. And then at the end, I want the answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Carl, why do you think this topic's important?
Why do I think this topic right? So, I've been thinking about this recently, and I think that people these days tend to build a cage around themselves. So people build their own cage, right?
Yeah.
So what do I mean by this? What I mean is, some people's cages, if people don't leave their own estate, right? Some people it's a house, but let's say people don't leave their own estate. Everyone they know is on their estate. Everything they do is usually on their estate. Then their cage that they've built is just in that one small area. For some people, it could be a town. You know, everything they do is all in this town. They don't go any further. And then a city. Some people, it's people travel across the country quite a lot. So their cage that they built for themselves is, you know, the country. Now, I think the issue with that is when you restrain yourself to a specific area, everything you know and everything that you've learned is confined only to what is the norms in that area, and you're not going to learn anything more. And I think the more you learn from other people, from other cultures, from other places, is where real growth happens. Because without learning new things, you can't grow. If you're doing the same things, if you're doing the same things consistently, then you're never going to grow. You're going to stay the same, right? Stagnant.
Yeah.
So that's why I think people need to travel, experience new things, and it will literally like open up your mind.
Okay. So if I'm hearing it correctly, you're saying that the reason why it's important is it opens up your mind. It
Yeah.
sort of broadens your perspective on life.
Yeah.
And you might sort of see and learn new things.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay. So just for context, for the audience, how many countries have you been to so far?
I can actually check this. I've got it written down somewhere.
Okay.
I think it's around 36.
Wow. That's a lot.
It's quite a few.
That's more than me.
It's
That's impressive.
I would like it to be more, but I think that's where it stands at. Let's have a look.
Is it more than me? I'm not sure.
I think we checked this last time. I don't think it is more than you. I think it's either very close or you might be slightly more,
Yeah.
especially after this year.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe.
Oh no, 27. It's 27 countries.
27.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Tell me when you started traveling.
Okay.
When was your sort of first big holiday?
Right, so we can break this into two things because there's that thing, right? And I don't know if this is like a niche, clicky kind of thing, but some people say travel and holidays is two different things. I don't know if I fall into that sort of that mindset. It's going on a holiday is traveling to another country.
Yeah.
So it's practically the same thing in my eyes. I think we could maybe sum up traveling as more long term. You know, you leave your country, you're going around other countries, and then maybe eventually coming back to your place or staying somewhere else. We could consider that traveling, and a holiday is just, you know, jetting off to a place and then coming back again. So, my first experience was when I was younger, actually. So I was quite fortunate that my parents took me away on a few decent holidays. Went to Africa, to Kenya on a safari. Went to Malaysia, which everyone knows we both love. That was my first experience when I was like 10 maybe. Stayed in like the Marriott in the centre. And I remember seeing a thunderstorm. This is another... I remember seeing a thunderstorm while I was there, and the drops of rain were like, they're like the size of my fist. They were
Really?
just the raindrops. They were massive. And this thunderstorm was like, it's a tropical one, isn't it? So it's not something we see in the UK. And as seeing that as a kid, I was like, wow. So yeah, I went on quite a few when I was younger, and then they slowed down as I got into my teens, early adulthood. It was more like then your short holidays like Spain, you know, the typical beach holidays in Europe.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years ago, I went traveling for about a year and a half, which is I covered Asia, Australia, great place, and some of Europe as well.
And what impact do you think sort of traveling sort of had on you?
What impact? Are we talking like emotion, like
We're talking growth wise.
growth wise? Well, the thing is, you have to adapt because you're going from a place where everything that you do is just hardwired, right? It's just stuff that you do every single day. It's a habit.
Yeah.
You throw in the same culture and the same norms that you live in. So everything you do is what's, kind of normal and accepted there. When you go to other places, like Asia and stuff like that, which is completely different, you're in a completely different culture. So you have to adapt and kind of, you have to expand a little bit to be able to fit in while you're there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of the biggest things for me, it's so cliche, is the weather. Just constant heat, sun. I love that. I love that shit.
I also feel like it's with traveling, I feel like a really big part of it is language as well. I feel like the fact that you'll go to some countries and they don't speak your language sort of forces you to sort of open up to people a bit more and open up your mind.
It makes you more humble. You have to be more humble. You get humbled because you're in a place where we're so privileged that everybody pretty much speaks English in the world. Like most places, it's like the most spoken language. So to be in a place where you're the person that doesn't speak the main language for once, it's like kind of puts you in your place a little bit and makes you understand that, we're not maybe as entitled as what we actually think in some places.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, and also in terms of the sort of humbling experience, we all get that as well. Like, for example, because I've been to Africa quite a bit. I've been to sort of parts of Asia that are quite poor. Obviously Africa, parts of it quite poor. And also you get to understand that we complain about a lot of things that people in other countries don't even get close to having. Like, we'll complain about things like, I'm not able to eat 3 times a day today or whatever else, when people are looking for just one meal for the day.
And they're happy with one meal as well. That's the difference.
They're very happy with one meal. We're complaining about, water's getting expensive, egg is getting expensive, where people can't even have clean water.
I'm not getting paid enough to be able to, pay off my
mortgage,
my car loan, my mortgage for my big, house that's got all these safe rooms and, to go out every weekend and pay for my cocktails and to go on 2-3 holidays a year.
Crazy. Honestly, like, I think that's one of the biggest things that I've taken from traveling is,
I have to agree with that.
You just become more appreciative of what you have and your standard of living.
Yeah.
You understand that even being on minimum wage in the UK, you are still, don't quote me on these figures, but you are still, I'm sure, in the top 20% in the world in terms of
100%. Like India is probably, I don't know, is it like 6, 7, 8 times the size of the UK?
Must be.
Yeah.
I mean, population wise, it's probably 20 times.
Yeah, and most of it is, I would say, very, very low income. There's so many people with not a lot there.
Yeah.
So that already, makes that percentage super small in the UK.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, just knowing that where you are, the UK, is you're living better than the majority of the people in the world.
Majority, 100%.
So it sort of helps ground you as well, because you kind of realise that, I've got quite a lot more than what
Yeah.
I thought I did.
And I think another good thing that happens is, and I think this is quite a natural thing, and I think it's something you don't get when you just spend a very short time in a place. So let's say if you used to go on a holiday and go to like Asia, right? Let's say the Philippines, because Philippines is quite low income, I would say. If you're going on a short holiday, you're there for a little while, so you know you're around these people, but you're more focused on just getting all your activities and everything done that you're doing while you're there and taking them. If you spend quite a little bit longer there, what I found is that you start to like connect with the locals more, who are significantly less than like we do, even as a standard in the UK, and you just naturally begin to sort of relate and understand how to enjoy life without thinking about all these things that you need in the UK. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So, just touching on that as well, I feel like when you talk about places like the Philippines, when you talk about places like Malaysia, Thailand, you get people that don't have nowhere near as much as you, but they're really happy. You know,
100%. Filipinos, of my experience, are such happy. It's such a happy place.
Yeah, the majority of the world is happy.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
It is.
And you, like in Africa, the joy in people's faces, like when they meet you and everything like that. You know, it's humbling to see that even without all the basics, these people are still way happier than some of the people you see in the UK.
Do you think maybe it's safe to say that the more material things we get, the harder it is to be happy? Because these people have nothing. Not nothing, but these people, it takes very little to make them happy, because without all of these things, they've just got the base things of life, just living, right? They've got a lot of time, they've just got the very basics in life, so they can enjoy the more simple things. Whereas when we've got, you know, cars, jobs, all this money, going out for cocktails, all these stimulating things, it's like, what's next? Like, what else can I grab that will give me a little short burst of happiness?
I agree to an extent. I feel like maybe their happiness comes from... Happiness has always been an inside job, isn't it? You know, so I feel like that's always going to be the case. Whether you're in Africa or you're in the UK or whatever, your happiness is always going to come from within. But that's a different subject for another day.
I think the weather makes a difference. I 100% do. In the UK,
I've heard that quite a bit, actually.
Yeah. So when I travelled and came back, I was like, you notice how even more like the UK is so. This is my impression when I came back, because I came back in the winter as well. I was like, it's so grey, it's depressing. I've come from like, you know, constant sun and nice weather, beautiful skies and the ocean, and now everything's just grey and just like gloomy all the time. And then summer came in the UK, and I'd be on like a walk in a local sort of park, and I'd be like, wow, the UK is actually nice, you know. So I've
always thought the UK was nice.
So I think the weather makes a huge difference. If you're constantly in the sunlight, it could be because you're getting like your dose of vitamin D as well, I don't know, but when you're constantly in the sunlight, I think it just changes the energy a little bit.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that.
And this is why people probably love holidays so much. Everybody chases the sun when they go on holidays usually.
Yeah.
And also, just one more thing to add on to that. There's a place, I can't remember the exact town, where I think they have like the most days of night. They have like 30 days of just complete night or something like that. And it's supposed to be like the most depressing town in the world. Everyone, like the suicide rate is the highest.
What, in the UK?
No, it's not in the UK.
Oh.
Definitely not in the UK. Although it does happen there's a Scottish island just north of Scotland, and they have like, sometimes it will be like, I think they'll have like 24 hours of like constant daylight.
Daylight or night?
Daylight.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's a good thing, no?
Well, it depends if you go out on a night out and then you come back and it's still light, and it'd be very confusing. Country with... Hang on, that's what it... Most depressed country with lots of nighttime. That's such a bad way to try and... The Norwegian town where the sun doesn't rise, I think it's in Tromsø, Norway, where the polar night lasts all winter. So basically it's dark all winter.
Wow.
Completely dark.
Right.
So very depressing.
So, getting back to the actual topic of how holidays or how traveling helps you grow as a man. I feel like an important part of that, away from it humbles you, it shows you that it makes you thankful for what you have.
Yeah.
I think also it helps you connect with more people.
Yeah. So I think we've touched on this in a few podcasts now, which is like how important it is to socialize and work on your social scale and make sure. And when you travel, it's just feels so much more natural to connect with people as you travel or even on holidays. And that kind of almost gives you a little boost in socializing.
Yeah.
And you're going to meet people with different ideas of the world, which is, I mean, it's all about learning from different perspectives. Because if you're just hanging around with, let's say, hanging around with 5 people, right?
Yeah.
In fact, there's that saying that you are the same as the 4 or 5 people that you hang around with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're hanging around with 5 people, constantly talking about the same things, you know, doing the same things, you're always going to be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
If you introduce one other person and then start hanging around with them more and they would talk about different things, it would change a lot of stuff what's going on in your life. Yeah. Now, if you're traveling and you've got lots of different things, giving you lots of people, different people, giving you lots of different perspectives, it's just opening you up to so much more opportunities, awareness, and how to socialize with different types of people.
Yeah, completely agree. I think to add on to that, also, depending what country you go to as well, their cultures are very different. Like we touched on before, Bulgaria, like literally everyone smokes. Like the majority of people smoke.
That's one of my most hated cultural fucking phenomenons that I've ever come across. How can so many people smoke in one country?
Yeah, but that's their culture. That's how they
culture.
live.
You can't agree with every culture.
Exactly. And then we also touched on like, right, this is a funny one because I don't know if you can kind of generalize the oil of the UAE like that, but we touched on Dubai being a place where it's like lifestyle, luxury, or whatever else. So their culture, for example, it's all about what you have. It's all about
money and material.
Yeah. So in a sense, that's really enjoyable. You know, clearly I've enjoyed it a bit too much, but at the same time, you do kind of realize that that's not exactly what's gonna make you happy, or that's not exactly what's gonna be good for your growth.
Yeah.
That being said, it is a very safe country. So again, we live in the UK where there is crime sometimes, and there is like stuff happening, people, you know, robbing people and all of that. And then you go to a place like the UAE where it's like
you can leave your phone on a table somewhere, on a bench, and you could come back a day later and it'll still be there. Exactly.
So that also like is a bit of a mind fuck, innit? Because you're like, wait, so people are capable of not actually stealing and like seeing an expensive thing and just leaving it.
It just needs to be a place where you get your hand chopped off if you do it.
Because
no, I'm joking. That's not Dubai, don't worry. I mean, if you plan on going to Dubai and stealing phones off people, it's definitely the place where you get your hand chopped off. Fuck you.
As you can tell, Carl's had some coffee this morning. But it's funny you say that actually, because loads of different people go to Dubai.
Yeah.
Dubai doesn't say like, in order for you to come here, like you have to be a righteous person or whatever else. But how come everyone can go to a place and adopt like the actions and the mentality of the people there? Because the same people that will see a phone in Dubai and leave it are the same people that will see a phone in the UK
and take it. Well, I think the thing is, people I don't know, because in the UK, if somebody's going to take a phone and that desperate that they need to steal a phone for money, can even afford to go to Dubai.
Yeah.
Yeah. The phone's going to pay for the flight ticket.
Some people just like stealing.
Yeah. Or some people to see an opportunity and take it, innit?
Yeah.
I think it's because as well. Do you know one thing about Dubai is that people have this this mindset that it's so super strict and you'll just get arrested if you even put one finger out of line.
Yeah.
So maybe people are just a little bit like fearful of repercussions of anything they do there, sort of thing. I mean, if I was ever going to get arrested and put in prison, I'd probably pick Dubai over anywhere in the world. You're probably getting served 3-course meals.
I've heard it's not like that, you know.
Is it not?
That's what I've heard.
Is there a prison in Dubai? Or is like the prisons, you know, in the desert somewhere?
That's true. But I've heard like Dubai prisons are not the best. But right, the reason why I mentioned that is that's another thing that grows you a little bit, because you start to realize that not everyone's the same.
Yeah.
People have different mentalities. People have different ways of thinking. People have different ways of doing things.
I'll give you an example. In Asia, it's a normal thing. So we eat breakfast. It depends how you say it. In North, it's breakfast, dinner, and tea, which is so strange. Now I've trouble. It's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Come on, guys. But anyway, so for breakfast, we'll eat like maybe eggs on toast, right?
Yeah.
And then we eat maybe a slightly bigger meal for lunch. And then for dinner, we'll eat like a big meal. In Asia, they do it the opposite way around. They'll eat like chicken, like fried chicken and a sauce and all this, and like rice for breakfast. And then the meals get smaller throughout the day until nighttime.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So when I went to Asia, I went to a buffet breakfast at the hotel, and I went downstairs and I was like, oh, okay, let's get some like, I don't know, some eggs or whatever. I lifted up one of those trays and I was like, huh, is that like chicken feet? What the fuck? So I put it down, I got to the next one, and I'm like,
rice.
What the fuck? Like, it's like pork and fucking sauce. Like, what's going on? And that's why. I soon realised that's why. And I started picking up that a little bit. A lot of people don't, but I was like, kind of makes sense to eat your heaviest meals at the start, get the most energy, and then you won't crash throughout the day.
But then do you think like that's another thing? Yeah, that's interesting because if you eat a lot during the morning, though, are you not going to feel tired?
Well, so I mean, I'm not a nutritionalist, but the way I've been kind of made to believe is that if you eat rice, carbs, or whatever stuff like that, carbs is usually energy, right? So if you eat like, let's say, some eggs for breakfast, just eggs, and then for lunch or whatever, then you eat some carbs, you're going to go for like a sort of normal lowish energy, eat carbs at lunch, and then your energy rises, so in the afternoon. But doesn't it make more sense to eat carbs in the morning, give yourself the most energy at the start of the day, and then gradually throughout the day reduce your carbs so that your energy slowly winds down until you go to bed, as opposed to building up your carbs and building up your energy up to nighttime when you go to bed? See what I mean?
That's interesting. That's interesting.
I don't know if that's why they do it, but I feel like...
You feel like it might work?
And also, like, I don't know what the habits of eating have been like in, let's say, the western world of the UK for many years ago, but I'm assuming in Asia they probably eat the same way they did 1,000 years ago, probably. Yeah.
But another thing that I want to touch on was the family aspects of some of these countries.
Oh, I've got some good stuff here.
Huge. For example, when I was in Malaysia, I was speaking to a few of the locals who worked at the hotel or whatever else, and I asked them, like, have you ever sort of left Malaysia? And the majority of them would be like, no, we've never left. And I was like, why haven't you ever left? He goes, you know what, one time I did get a visa to go to the UK, and then I just looked at my family and I thought, no, I'd just prefer to stay here. They are so much more family orientated than we are in the UK, I would say.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a massive part of their happiness as well.
Asia is 100% more like family orientated than the UK.
They are very family orientated. And they respect their elders as well.
Yeah, they do.
You know, you learn stuff like that. You learn like these people from different countries, they just treat elderly people differently. Like there's a lot more respect. There's a lot more care. There's a lot more appreciation for their knowledge or whatever else.
Because that's who you learn everything from, usually. Yeah. It makes sense that the person that raises you up, gives you life, raises you up, teaches you everything that you know up to a certain point. You should respect them.
You should respect them.
One fun fact about Singapore is that they actually pay people to live close to the family.
Oh, really?
Or like next door. The reason is because Singapore is all about, they're growing their country. They're into like health and stuff like that because they want their people in their country to live a long time, right? And it's been proven now that people that socialize more live longer. People that stay with the family, because I guess it's a form of socializing, isn't it? People that stay with the family tend to live longer lives. So they're paying people to live like next door to the family so that they can essentially extend the life of the people in the country.
Oh, wow.
And they also put like loads of little fitness parks outside and stuff like that. Singapore, you'll find like 90-year-olds doing pull-ups.
Oh,
on
really?
these little fitness parks. Yeah, they're all about growing the health and like longevity and stuff like that. Singapore is a place like, I think it's only expanding massively, and I don't know like if they've got a king or a government or whatever, but they're all for like the Singaporean, if that's the right term, Singaporean people.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Have you been to Singapore?
No.
It's a place you should go to. I've been, but I just didn't experience it in the in the right way. I was traveling, had a day spare, so I just went to Singapore for a day, and it was like kind of rushed and trying to make it across the city. I didn't get the experience that I was hoping for.
But you got some experience, clearly.
Yeah, I got to experience it. I walked through, did a couple of things, and I was so tired as well from all the stuff I'd previously been doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. So, another thing. So that's probably like 3 things that sort of that's grown us a little bit.
Yeah. There's one thing I want to touch on as well in a minute. But
yeah. So I'd say another thing that's sort of grown me quite a bit with traveling is just activities.
You've literally, what I wanted to talk about is literally just brought up. It's experiences.
Yeah, exactly.
As humans, we learn through experiences. If you experience a new type of food, you've just grown because you've just learned about a new type of food, and then you might incorporate it into your life. And you know, most people have experienced the UK to the maximum potential, mostly by the time they get to like middle age, because there's only so much you can do in the UK.
Yeah.
You know, you can add some extra country walks, etc. But at the end of the day, a country walk's a country walk, no matter which, small mountain you go up.
Yeah.
Essentially. But what you can do is when you travel, and the world is a huge place, guys, you can add so many new experiences. Like an example, just a couple of things I did. Some of my best experiences were ocean-based, but like I've swam with humpback whales.
Okay.
I've swam with a shoal of over 1 million fish at the same time, turtles and stuff like that.
Wow.
So that's a whole ocean experience. There's Australia is a place where you'll experience a lot of new things. And the strangest thing about Australia is it's adopted the Western mentality. So this is Western Australia. It's all very different. So this is my experience with Australia.
Yeah.
It's adopted the Western mindset. So it's very similar to like the UK almost, except the landscape is just completely different. It's such a beautiful place, and there's a lot of fun stuff to do.
So I can see like when you talk about holidays, you get really excited.
Yeah.
When you talk about traveling, it's like your thing, innit?
Yeah.
So what else would you say from all your travels has sort of grown you?
Oh, so I would say like the actual just action of traveling consistently, because it gives you a lot of sort of courage and self-trust, I think, to be able to say like, it's like
that's a big one, self-trust.
Because it's like I said, a lot of people build this cage, right? And people I don't think people people that don't come off their own town or the estate, right? I don't think they want to stay in that one place all the time. I think it's just because they got used to it, it's comfortable, and they're almost too afraid to like, step out and, actually really try new things and incorporate new things into life. Now, when you travel, you're constantly expanding. Let's say your cage, your bubble is there, right?
Yeah.
You go to a new country, whoop, it grows. That's another sound effect. It
Bubble gets bigger, basically.
It grows a little bit, and then you go, you get a flight to a new place, whoop, and then you get a train to another place, whoop. I'm going to stop doing that sound now. But you get the idea, like the bubble just grows and grows.
I want to touch on...
But also, can I say one more thing? I think that as your bubble expands and you experience all these new things, and your mind expands with this bubble, I think that if you... Almost like that saying that if you don't use it, you lose it. If you come back to the UK, go back to your same town, and you just stay there, the longer you stay in that one place, I think it starts to shrink again.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think the best thing to do is just keep it doesn't mean you have to travel full time, but like just keep incorporating travel or going away to new places if you want to grow.
Yeah.
If you feel like you've been stuck in one place for too long, if you feel like, it's been 4 months, I've not left this town that I live in, just at least go to the other side of the country, go to Scotland, do something that's going to expand that bubble a bit.
Yeah.
And keep
agreed.
it growing.
And as you can tell, Carl's grown quite a bit from traveling, and so have I. We definitely encourage you guys to travel as much as you can. There's literally no downside to it. Like, there's only upsides. And I want to dispel some myths.
Okay. This is going to be fun.
About traveling. I think one of the myths about traveling is it's super expensive.
It's as expensive as you make it.
Yeah. I know people that have traveled for less than £300 and that have had a good holiday. Traveling does not have to be expensive, guys. Don't let it overwhelm you. Don't let it make you think, oh, I can't go because I don't have the money.
It can be expensive.
It can be expensive, but it doesn't
choose it to be.
It doesn't have to be expensive. You can literally, with £300, go to pretty much anywhere in Europe, and you're not going to be staying in the fanciest hotels, or you're not going to be staying doing all the fancy stuff, but you will get an experience of the country.
Let me give you a quick example. So in the Philippines, can you remember I said I swam with over 1 million fish?
Yeah.
My first ever experience of swimming with turtles, like this big, huge, that was all free. So once you're into the Philippines, which I don't know, you can probably, if you get in the right time, if you look on getting flights at the right time of the year and stuff like that, you can get for quite cheap. Let's say you can get to the Philippines for £500, right?
Yeah.
Once you're there, from where I landed, you can then get either a short internal flight, which is going to cost maybe £30-40.
Yeah.
Then you can get like a bus or like a coach kind of thing that costs maybe £10-20, sometimes not even that, and you're there in that town. And then accommodations there you can get for the town's called Moalbao, by the way, just in case anyone does decide to go. But accommodations there is so much cheaper than the UK. You're not spending £100 on a night. You can spend £20-30 a night sometimes, depending on where you stay. And then these giant turtles and stuff like this, they don't charge you to do that. You can just go there and swim with them.
Wow.
So if you do research, which I would say is the main thing, if you do your research, you can do things very, very cost efficient.
Yeah. That's really good. That's really good information, guys. So I didn't even know that Carl done that for free, because that's amazing. Swimming with fishes for free. That's something I'd like to try, actually.
Over 1 million fish.
Over 1 million.
Not just doing
I've got
over 1 million at once.
I've got to make sure I put that in there. Over 1 million fish.
There's 2 places in the world you can do it. One is in Philippines in Moalbao, and the other one's in South Africa. They call it the sardine room.
Oh, is it?
The one in South Africa has more. I think they've got maybe, I don't know, let's say 1.5 million fish, I don't know. In Moalbao in Philippines, it's about 1 million sardines.
Wow.
Swim in unison, and you can dive down and they split and make a big donut around you. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Wow. We need to talk about it off air, actually.
Yeah.
Right, so the first myth is that traveling is super expensive. It's not. You can travel for quite a reasonable price.
I already know another myth you're going to touch on.
Go on.
It's safety.
Safety.
That's
a huge one.
That was
I was going to say that, actually, but go on.
Safety is people think, do you know what? Going to, let's say, Asia is going to be super, risky. The guys might, if you're a girl, the guys might try and do something. Or, and I'm not saying these things don't happen, because they definitely do in some places.
Yeah.
But let's talk as a whole.
Yeah.
Or that people are going to rob you and stuff like that. You've got, walk through London city centre. You've got more chance of getting robbed there. I swear to God.
100%.
Traveling to these places is so safe, because the thing is, yes, there's going to be people that do stuff in them places.
Yeah.
But these people are super, super tight and nice communities.
Yeah.
And the communities will always back you up in situations.
Yeah.
Whereas opposed to say in some places like London, for example, people can get robbed in the street, and most of the time, not all the time, most of the time people just stand around and watch because people don't want to get involved.
Yeah. And you know what? I've got to do a little shout out for Africa here, because it has got such a bad rap for safety and whatever else. But I have never, and anyone I've ever been on holiday could probably attest to this as well, I have never felt unsafe anywhere in Africa. And I've been to Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia, Nigeria, South Africa. I always forget places. But Angola, I have never ever once felt at risk or unsafe or whatever else. Obviously, like Carl said, you gotta have your wits about you. If they say somewhere is unsafe, like if there's an unsafe area or a dangerous area, don't go there.
Yeah.
You know.
But also do a bit of a deep dive as well, because don't just look at the Gov website. I'm probably going to get slated for giving this advice so hard.
Yeah.
But if you look at the Gov website, it's going to tell you everywhere's unsafe.
Yeah.
Do you know, you got extreme risk of getting pickpocketed or
killed,
or they always say,
or robbed.
They always say getting kidnapped and held for a ransom and shit
Yeah.
like that. They say that for Philippines, Africa,
Yeah.
everywhere. Every single place I've been to, not one single moment have I thought, do you know what, I could get kidnapped here.
Yeah.
Just doesn't. It probably does happen maybe once.
Yeah.
But people, shit happens in the UK.
Yeah. Just a quick example. When you went to Kenya, did you feel unsafe at all?
When I went to Kenya, I did the safari, and not once during the safari did we feel unsafe as a family ever, because there's about 9 or 10 of us. Okay. Not once. Especially like during the safari, the people they were the kindest people. So catering. They just want you to have a good time.
Yeah.
Whether that's like the tribes that you meet, whether it's the people that are doing the safari, it's just always safe.
Yeah.
And if anything, because there's a lot of sort of dangerous animals around to an extent, they're always they never get too comfortable and kind of say they're always making sure that everyone is safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. The second place I went to was Mombasa. That was a bit of a different experience.
That's the capital, isn't it?
Mombasa.
No. Kenya. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. Mombasa was like completely different to the experience in Kenya, because Kenya was safari. Now Mombasa, it was like there was all these buses with like neon lights, and it was all full of like guys and people to jump on dead fast and then get off in the town and stuff like that. It was a really cool experience. But there was just one experience where we was walking down the streets and going to malls and everything. But there's one experience where there was a guy walking over to my mum and dad as we were walking down the street. Don't know if he was going to try and rob them or whatever. But then as he got a bit close, there's a security guard on the street somewhere, and he just...
Nairobi. That's Nairobi, the capital.
Yeah. He basically just raised his gun, and his guard is fucked off. So this is another thing. Even if you do go to some of these unsafe places, if you start doing really stupid things, maybe it's unsafe. Yeah. But if you're in the right places... Then,
there's so much protection.
Then there's people there to... If it's an unsafe place...
there is so much protection in these countries. I'm telling you.
Yeah, 100%.
Every country you go to, they know you're going to come and spend money in their country. Like,
I don't even think it's just money, though. I think
tourism is like a massive thing for all of these countries. They do not want you going back with a bad experience or with anything like that.
And people also don't need to just go back and have a bad experience of their country. People are proud of their countries.
Exactly.
People don't need to go back and go, oh, do you know what? I went to Africa and it's dangerous and it's terrible. People see something happen in the street. More than likely, that one bad person is going to get outnumbered by a lot of nice people who go, do you know what? You are not like changing this person's opinion on our country and making us look, like we're a bad place.
Yeah. And probably shouldn't say this, but I have gotten away with so much stuff on holiday that I would not get away with in the UK. Like, so much stuff. Like, I've been driving on the other side of the road, not intentionally, obviously, but I've been driving on the other side of the road because obviously most other countries are like the other side drive. And police have stopped me and have been like, sorry, from the UK. And they've just been like, oh, go. That has happened to me probably about 6 or 7 times.
People just act dumb.
Yeah, just say from the UK. Just say from the UK. It gets me out of nearly everything, honestly. And then like even parked in the wrong place or whatever else. The car was about to be picked up. I got there. I was like, oh, I didn't know I couldn't park here. From the UK. They were like, this was in Italy, by the way. They're like, oh, ciao. Like, literally, you get away with so much more because people, like Carl said, people want you to have a good time.
Can I just touch on this? Do not go to Dubai, steal a phone and go, I'm from the UK.
Nah.
That would be a bad idea.
Right, this is so off topic. Do you hear about the boy that, I think he was carrying like £2,000 worth of coke?
To Dubai?
Was it no? So drugs.
Yeah.
Class A.
Mm-hmm. But it has to be like coke or
No,
heroin, then, probably.
he got caught
Mm.
with £2,000 worth of
Yeah.
drugs. 40 years in prison.
£2,000 not even a lot.
40 years in prison. They're trying to appeal it.
Right, so this is why people don't do crime in Dubai.
In
then.
Dubai. That's why.
It's
Because
a stupid, and it's the same. So this is like, as a pre-warning, if anyone does go to Asia, not all countries in Asia, but like Philippines, for example, if you
they big on drugs.
Oh,
innit?
if
They'll kill you.
This is the thing, like how you can talk yourself. I nearly talked myself out going to Philippines for the first time for a
Yeah.
holiday, right? And this is why I was excited. I was like, I'm going to the Philippines. Yeah, and it's like, look what's there and stuff like this. So first thing I did was, what dangerous animals was there in the Philippines? That's the first step of nearly talking myself out of it. I was like, oh my God. I was like, what, did you know there's this, that's a dangerous animal. Like, look at this, that can kill you. Didn't see any of them, barely, when I was there.
Yeah.
And then the second one was, I watched a documentary, right, and they cracked down on drugs. And I shit you not, I watched an interview with the Prime Minister or the President or whatever at the time of Philippines. And he says to the people of the Philippines, he says, now would be a good time to open up a morgue because their bodies are going to start piling up.
Yeah.
And that was on cracking down on drugs, because what they were doing is, if people have drugs or selling drugs, they kill them.
Yeah.
They don't arrest them, they kill them.
They killed him, yeah.
So if you, and I don't know if the death penalty stands, or if you get like a life sentence if you're taking drugs in the Philippines, and I think this includes cannabis as well. But yeah, definitely stay away from drugs in places like that.
So, just to be clear, these countries are all super safe, super.
If anything, that will make it safer.
Super nice, super like you're never going to be in any sort of major issues.
And
however,
you're never going to see these things either.
However, don't go there and try and take the piss.
Yeah.
There are still illegal stuff that you can't do, and don't think you could just go there with drugs or go there and start like acting out or doing stupid things and you get away with it. No, these countries have rules, but in general, they're safe. As long as you're going there just to have fun and just to live like a normal person, you won't have any issues.
I think this is one thing you need to, like, if you're going to another country, you need to leave your your
British mindset.
That is exactly it. British mindset in the UK, and remember to respect that country's laws and cultures as well.
Yeah.
Because you're in their playing field now, so you just need to respect it. And as long as you respect it, you're gonna be absolutely fine.
Right, we're running out of time.
So
back to that question I asked you initially. Watch me catch him out. I'm about to catch out Carl. What was the question?
I can't remember the question. I can't remember the question.
I would literally have been so shocked if you remembered it. So I'll ask you again.
What country has made me learn the most? Was that it? That was close.
That's close. It's close. So what holiday?
I wrote it down a little bit. I just didn't get the whole thing down.
What holiday has led to your biggest growth?
Asia. Country. Okay, in Asia, I would say one of the biggest growths was potentially in Bali. It was every country I've grown from, right?
Yeah.
And I think Bali, because when I was in Bali, I remember staying with a few families in a few different places. If I can, I want to kind of put Asia
in a basket.
In a basket, and kind of like use this same sort of thing. But I've had this experience a couple of times in Bali, so that's why I'm saying that. The people, touching on families before, the people and families that I've stayed with a couple of places, like families and stuff, and they just want you to experience their culture. And they want to like show you like how nice they are, and they really want to kind of like give you the best experience of their culture. And I feel like that's something we just don't really get in the UK.
Yeah.
It's like, in the UK, do we have a culture to even like present to people as a...
Oh, we definitely have a culture.
We have a culture, but if someone came to the UK, I feel like this is. Yeah. I suppose you could give them like beans on toast and stuff like that for cultural food.
We've got, the thing is,
Sunday roast.
We've got culture, but I feel like our culture is so widely distributed already. It's like it's not ours anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's just like world culture.
It's Europe, it's America, it's material. I feel like has culture almost got material a little bit as well, though.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's one thing in Asia, for example, is much, much less material. I guess because they can't afford it as much.
Yeah.
But one thing I did notice, which was even doesn't matter how poor a person is, mostly, this is a wide summary, they all have phones and access to the internet. They're all sat there, and there'll be guys like waiting to pick people up on the little bikes, tuk-tuks, or on the little mopeds, and they'll just be sat like lying upside down in all these mad positions that people from the UK can't get themselves into. And they'll be like watching those videos on YouTube until they get a job, and they're like, what? And then they just go and pick them up.
Wow.
Phones are everywhere.
Perfect. So that's all we got time for today.
Yep.
My biggest growth holiday was Portugal, for reasons that I mentioned on previous podcasts. So watch that. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, join the fun, join the movement, and I hope that we're delivering value to you guys, and you guys continue on this journey with us.
Any subjects you want us to touch on that you think might be fun or of value, put it in the comments, and we'll do a little podcast on that too.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, nice. Thanks, guys.